Okay, everything should work. Let's hope for the best that YouTube is not trolling me. So, ciao everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Learn Italian with Songs. Today we are going to talk about the ninth track of Natura Morta by Folkstone. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We have 16 tracks. Today we are going to talk about Mediterraneo first and then Tempora Currunt, which is the 10th. I'm going to explain why towards the end of the video when we are going to talk about Tempora Currunt. But we are getting there. We should finish with this rhythm, of course, within the first week of October. What a challenge, what a trip. So, Mediterraneo, right? As usual, let's start with the translation of the title. Mediterraneo is simply Mediterranean, the adjective, but usually also indicating the Mediterranean Sea. And the whole concept of Mediterranean Sea and generally as concerning the countries around the Mediterranean Sea is going to be the center of this song. Now, this is another featuring. In fact, Folkstone, to produce this track, cooperated with Sadist, another band, and in fact, the in the videos when they've performed this song, the scene is quite full because, of course, imagine two groups singing and playing together is quite something. Now, we talked about the criticism last time concerning Fragile. Because it was a featuring and everyone was like, what happened? Mainly because Folkstone said that all the featurings were more political than the other tracks. There are 4 featurings in this album. And in theory, the featurings were supposed to bring out the more political side of Folkstone. And in Fragile didn't really happen. So a portion of the fans, as far as I read, were a bit disappointed, both concerning the Folkstone and the Modern City Rumbles, the featuring they had. But here, guys, we really see what they meant when they said that the featuring brought out the more political side of the band. And I'm going to show you with the lyrics. Starting with the first verse. The song is not that long. We have quite of a classical structure, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, bridge, a variation of the chorus, and pretty much that's it. But what they say in these verses and in these lines is quite something. So, starting with the first verse. Sopra un mare calmo costellato di galee. Above a calm sea dotted, like full of stars, literally, with galleys. Navigavano gli intrecci di poemi e civiltà. The intertwining of poems and civilization sailed. Tra zagare e carrube approdavano i mestieri. Between orange blossoms and carobs, crafts landed. Irradiavano le arti il tuo bacino blu. The arts radiated your blue basin. Now, as I previewed, we're focusing a lot on the Mediterranean Sea. Why? Because the Mediterranean Sea is one of those regions in the world where many civilizations were built and flourished, right? And here they start the story of this song, recalling how it used to be back in the good old days when the civilizations were being born. And of course, there was a lot of commerce, but there was a lot of interchange, cultural exchange, right? And in fact, we have the reference to the galleys, so the boats going back and forth the Mediterranean Sea. And here we have an inversion because it would be gli intrecci di poemi e civiltà navigavano. Because in Italian you can do it. And also because I explained several times, many metal songs in Italian have more the structures and characteristics of poems. So, of course, you find also these inversions. And then we have mentioned Zagare and Carrube. Zagara, or Zagara, I never remember what the accent is, to be honest, is a very peculiar Italian word borrowed by the Sicilian dialects. You know, when I often remind everyone that in Italian, like in Italy, dialects are not only accents, they are real languages. This is a good example because Italian took a word from the Sicilian dialect coming from Arab, because of course the southern part of the peninsula, mainly Sicily, had a lot of exchange with Arabic-speaking population. And this reflects also in their language, so in their dialect Siciliano. And we took this very specific word, which indicates the flower of citrus, mainly concerning oranges and lemons. And in fact, what we have in Sicily, at least back in the days, now with the climate change, I can't guarantee that much. We are planting avocados, bananas, and ananas at this point. Pineapples, my bad. But originally, oranges and lemon trees were very, like, technically still is, but they were plants original of Sicily, just like other lands on the Mediterranean Sea, because of the temperature, the soil, and whatnot. And that's why they have a specific word indicating the not only oranges and lemons, but their blossoms, okay, their flowers. And then the carobs. Now, what is a carobs? I had to go check the description because I kind of know what it is, but I don't really know how to explain. Like, I can visualize how a carob is in my mind. I really didn't know how to explain what it is. So, from Wikipedia, the carob tree is native to the Mediterranean region and the Middle East. Very important. It is widely cultivated for its edible fruit, which takes the form of seed pods, and has an ornamental tree in gardens and landscapes. Spain, talking about Mediterranean region, is its largest producer, followed by, guess what, Italy and Morocco. Again, Mediterranean and Middle East. Why is this important? Well, we're going to find out in the chorus. And basically, we have commerce, we have poems, or literature, art, and whatnot, and civilization being exchanged in the Mediterranean Sea. In fact, generally, despite the rampant xenophobia among different civilizations, there was still a network of respect among the civilization of the Mediterranean Sea, because basically we were all kind of cousins and we kept exchanging, conversing, talking. Like it was a current exchange of everything. So, of course, you should be very poor with your intellectual honesty to deny this exchange. And of course, when you have so many exchanges, you influence yourself, naturally speaking. But let's go to the chorus, since this is a bit the focus of the discussion. Vieni qui, balla che si salta. Come here, dance so that we jump. Canti e missili. Songs and missiles. Brucia il cielo del Mediterraneo. Sorry. Brucia il cielo del Mediterraneo. The Mediterranean Sea is burning. Literally burns. L'onda tradirà. The whale will betray. And then repeated for 2 times the line qui brucia il cielo. Here the sky is burning. Again, literally burns. Now, how do we connect these two portions? Well, we start with an idea of how the Mediterranean Sea used to be. Of course, idealized, because the whole tale it's also about the contraposition of how it used to be in ancient times and how it is now. Of course, even in ancient times, civilizations and populations from the Mediterranean Sea were battling each other, like we have the Crusaders. But generally there was more exchange, commerce, balance and respect between, like among the several civilizations. But then we have this in opposition to what is in the chorus. What is this? Come here then so that we can jump. Now, as usual, the lyrics are quite implicit, because the whole point is to provide several interpretations to what you read, what you listen in this case, because we are talking about a song. But given the whole song, I would say that this is a reference to what happened on the 7th of October 2023, when, well, unless you live under a rock, I think you know what happened, but for all of those happily living under rocks, a conflict between the Palestinian population and the Israeli population that has been going since like the 50s of the, you know, basically from after the World War II, escalated even more because during, and that's why I'm thinking about it, because they say dance, there was a open air music event called Supernova Sukkot Gathering, where people from many nationalities, but of course mainly from Israel, participated. Hamas attacked, and since there, the war and war crimes and genocide against the Palestinian population went like stonks. So why am I thinking about it? First of all, because we are talking about the sky of the Mediterranean Sea burning. So we are talking about missiles. We are going to talk about waves. These are, and then songs. These, at least in my opinion, are all hints pointing at the 7th of October with the Supernova Festival. And why we jump? I think this is a reference to an idiomatic expression in Italian which is saltare in aria. Literally means to jump into the air, as in to blow up due to bombs, for example. And in fact, also the missiles are mentioned. And then we have the waves that will betray. L'onda tradirà, the wave will betray. Why? Probably a reference to all the migrants, not only related to the war, to the genocide happening in Palestine, but also to this might be a reference to all the migrations happening from Africa, because one of the most common routes is to reach the certain countries in North Africa and then trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea. But the issue is that this causes many victims, because of course the trip, and so the boats, the ships are not adequate for the transport of so many people, and so many people die in shipwrecks. And this I'm thinking about is because this is being mentioned later in the song. So of course there is in my opinion, a clear hint, a clear focus on what is happening in Palestine, but the problem point, like being called out, is bigger, because it's the whole problem of people dying in the Mediterranean Sea due to poorly managed immigration fluxes. And then we have the second verse. I figli tuoi un mosaico di disgregazione. Your children a mosaic of disintegration. La storia che si impregna di abitudine al dolore. The history that steeps in the habit of pain. Non siamo mai gli stessi. Libeccio o maestrale. We are never the same, southwesterly or mistral. Spieghiamo bianche vele da vittimi o eroi. We unfurl white sails as victims or heroes. So, figli tuoi, another inversion, because normally would be I tuoi figli, your children. Who is the protagonist? The protagonist is once again the Mediterranean Sea, because we are Mediterranean civilizations, Mediterranean population, and so we are children of the Mediterranean Sea, because objectively the Mediterranean Sea protects us, allows us to have a very peculiar type of climatic setup. So objectively it's easier to live on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea than in many other countries, for example. And usually the term mosaic, so in Italian mosaico, is often used in Italian to refer to cultures, population, and civilization. Here, however, is used as mosaic of disintegration. Why? To underline, of course, here, once again, the tale is exaggerated to show the distinction, like the opposition. Back when we were more civilized in ancient times, we were trading with each other, we were exchanging goods, but also culture, knowledge, and whatnot. Now, instead, we are killing each other. And in fact, the next line is very powerful, because the history that steeps in the habit of pain. So, we are getting so used to the idea of pain, of destructing each other, of killing each other, that we are getting used to it, used to it. Pain, caused by us, by the way, is becoming a habit. non siamo mai gli stessi, we're never the same, libeccio o maestrale. Libeccio and maestrale are two winds, the names of two winds, which I found the translation southwesterly and mistral. And then like the bianche vele, another inversion, white sails. Now, it could be a placeholder. Generally, in the normal imagery, in the common imagery, you would have the white flag as a sign of surrendering. It could be just a placeholder just to describe normally the fact that the sails are white. And again, we have the contraposition between the victims and the heroes, quite ironic. And then we have the bridge. I mercati nei vicoli, la gente, i suoi umori. The markets in the alleys, the people, their moods. Deflagrano dogmi feroci e millenari. Dogmas explode, ferocious and age-old. Nel mare che veste di stracci naufragati, in the sea that dresses with shipwreck rags, alla fine chi muore lo decidi anche tu. In the end you decide who dies too. Again, like punching hard. Because we have an image that recalls more the beginning, so the markets in the alleys with the people. And then we have a very peculiar verb, deflagrare. Deflagrare in Italian is a verb that usually is related to bombs. But in this case, it's not the bombs exploding, it's dogmas. Why? Because it's a reference to the religious dogmas. Ferocious and age-old. Millenari literally would be translated as thousands years old. Reference, of course, to the Jewish religion, which is one of the most ancient Abrahamic religion, in fact, coming from, like the other two, coming from the Mediterranean Sea. And that's why at the beginning also we had the reference of products coming from the Middle East. And then once again, it's not only about the war, but once again, a reference to how poorly managed are the flux of immigration. Because clearly not like both the European countries and the African countries don't want to deal with these fluxes of immigration. Nobody wants these people. And so you just, basically you have them dying at the sea. And then we end with the bridge with another punch in the guts, which is quite of a statement. In the end, you also decide who dies, because by not caring, by getting used to all this pain, you just let this happen. So this is some level of accountability that they are adding. And then we have the song ending with a variation of the chorus. Vieni qui, balla che si salta, canti e missili, brucia il cielo del Mediterraneo, l'onda tradirà. Come here, then so that we jump, songs and missiles, the Mediterranean sky is burning, the wave will betray, which is exactly like in the chorus. But we have one more piece to add. Senza lieto fine, un pugno di coraggio. Without a happy ending, a handful of courage. Odore di eresia, the smell of heresy. And then once again, vieni qui, balla che si salta, come here, dance, so that we jump, salva è l'anima, safe is the soul. Then we have qui brucia al cielo, repeated 3 times. Here the sky is burning. Mediterraneo, il cielo mediterraneo, the Mediterranean sky. Because of course not only it's the sea, but as I was explaining, the whole region around the sea. Now, senza lieto fine, because the story keeps going and it's not ended yet, and the genocide keeps going, Odore di eresia is criticizing the fact that many religions have certain values that are very conveniently ignored during wars. Then once again repetition, and then salva è l'anima, safe or saved is the soul. Probably meant in an ironic way, because of course, how can your soul be safe or saved when you are contributing to such amount of pain? Okay, so this was Mediterraneo. Our great Folkstone are back with this song, a very good featuring. Not much to be said, because you might say, oh, but Silvia, how is it possible there is no drama around this? It's such a strong statement. Yes, it is, but like the point is that in Italy, punk rock, metal rock, folk metal, and whatnot, like all these genres are, first of all, very niche, and second of all, they are, since they are quite niche, the fan base is pretty much agreeing on these themes. So the thing is that these songs, they are beautiful, don't get me wrong. At the same time, they stay in the bubble, they stay in the niche, they don't reach outside. So they don't create much drama because the fan base agrees with it. So it's pretty much like we all agree on it and that's it, pretty much. Like, the statement they say is strong, and like, of course, in a pop song or a mainstream media, you wouldn't find such strong statements. But to be honest, in punk, rock, metal, and whatnot, it's quite easy to find such statements and all the audience agrees on it. And then to finish, we are going to spend a couple of words concerning Mala, Tempora, Currunt. And I'm going to talk about it now for the simple fact that this song is entirely instrumental, except for the intro, where the male voice says only one sentence, or you could say, quote, Mala, Tempora, Currunt, which is a Italian idiom, Latin aphorism, because the whole composition, more than song, is another featuring with Daridel this time, but the whole lyrics, once again, consists in just this sentence. Now, Mala Tempora Currunt is a Latin expression that you could literally translate as bad times are running. And it means that bad times are upon us, so we live in a society. And was used generally to indicate, to call out the fact that people were living in a period of difficulty, crisis, decline. So, like, we live in a society, basically. This is, like, I never thought I could translate a Latin aphorism with a meme, but pretty much this works. So yeah, mala tempora currunt, we live in a society. What's more, it is commonly used to express lamentation or concern about the current state of affairs, often in the context of societal, political, or personal hardships. The phrase is frequently extended to mala tempora currunt, sed peiora parantur, meaning bad times are upon us, but worse ones are being prepared, are coming, emphasizing a sense of impending, even greater difficulty. And pretty much that's it. I don't have much to add to this commentary. Once again, normally in another context of another musical genre, we would have much more to discuss, both for Mala Tempora Currunt, but even more so for Mediterraneo, given the lyrics it has. But since pretty much from this niche agrees on the points stated in Mediterraneo, there's not much I could add. So, that said, next time we are going to talk about the 11th track and last featuring, La Fabbrica dei Perdenti featuring Pancreas. And yeah, we are going to see that. Going towards the end of this album. Now, that said, let me know in the comments what you think about Mediterraneo and Mala Tempora Currunt. That said, I hope you enjoyed this stream. Grazie everyone for watching and arrivederci.